Hi, Phil Pustiovsky with FreedomMentor.com. I'm a real estate investor, mentor, coach, and in this video I'm going to share with you IRA real estate investing. Individual retirement accounts is what IRA stands for, and there are many different kinds. And if you watched any of my videos, you've probably discovered that I tend to share the signal amidst all the noise. In other words, I cut through a lot of the talk and I talk about what's working, because that's what we're doing all day long is we are investing and we are coaching others on investing, and so we've got this thing down to a science. And so in this video, if you have heard at all about investing in a retirement account, I'm going to share with you something you've probably never heard of, or at least nobody's ever told you before. Because it's relatively brand new. And if you're just getting started in real estate investing, let me introduce you to the concept that you can actually buy and invest in real estate with your retirement account. So you don't have to just buy mutual funds. There's a lot of different options if you would like to invest your retirement in something other than stocks or bonds. Okay, so let's talk about the basics of IRA real estate investing. There are actually two foundational ways to go about the process. The very common way is to set up a self-directed IRA. Self-directed IRAs are managed by custodians. And there are big custodians, small custodians out there. And the concept is that if you want to set up a self-directed IRA, you would move money out of your current retirement account if you had one, or you could set up a new one if you didn't have anything in your retirement account. And the custodian would handle everything. So if you wanted to buy a property, you would have to call the custodian, and then they would have to give it the green light and send the actual check, the actual money, because they manage the bank account. So the custodian is kind of the middleman managing everything. And with a self-directed IRA, what you do is you can buy real estate, but you have to follow a lot of rules and guidelines, and the custodian is the one that handles most of that. They're the ones that give you the green light, red light as it relates to deals. And that's what most real estate investors are doing out there right now. If they are IRA real estate investing, what they're using is a self-directed IRA. So, I'll write that down. That's number one, self-directed IRA. A quick tidbit about this. The custodians that manage these, and again, they're highly regulated, and it's definitely a process to become a custodian. You can't just put your shingle out there and become one tomorrow. They get paid as a percentage of the total assets. Okay, so that's an important tidbit here. So what do we got? Percentage of total assets. So if you had $1 million in your retirement account, that's going to be a larger annual fee than if you have $10,000 in your retirement account. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the self-directed IRA. That's option number one. That's what most people use. In this video, I'm going to share with you something exciting. It is basically brand new. It came out in 2001, so in relative terms, it's pretty darn new. A lot of people don't know about it, but it is ideally suited for real estate investors. Here it is. The Solo 401k. Solo 401k. Most of you have heard of a 401k. You may have one. And typically it's a large plan. It's part of the employer you work for. Maybe a Fidelity is an example of a 401k administrator. A solo 401k is where you are the administrator of your own individual 401k account. It's also called an individual 401k. Now there are a couple of little guidelines. First of all, you have to have a small business. It doesn't have to be an LLC, it could be a sole proprietorship, but you have to have a business. And you have to be doing some earned income activities. So as a real estate investor, what that sounds like is you're going to flip a property, buy it, fix it up, and resell it. You're going to assign a contract. In some way, shape, or form, you're going to earn a little bit of income as opposed to just passive investments where your only income is from rental property. Does that make sense? So that's a big key. Now, for people like us and who we teach, they're usually doing a combination of buying rental properties and flipping properties. They're doing both. So it fits perfect for them. Also, the solo 401k, no employees full-time. You can have some part-time, you can have 1099, but no full-time employees. But for most real estate investors, that's exactly what they have. They hire, like I have people that work for me, but they're on 1099. They're independent contractors, okay? So that's the next little detail. That's pretty nice. So with the solo 401k, what I want to share with you are all the benefits above and beyond the self-directed IRA, and also tell you a couple of the drawbacks. Okay, so benefits. First thing you can do with the solo 401k that you can't do with the self-directed IRA in most cases is checkbook power. Checkbook power. What's that mean? That means that you have the checkbook. It means that if you've got a great hot smoking deal on your hands and you want to give that seller $3,000 earnest money and get the deal under contract so nobody else can get it, boom, your solo 401k can do that for you because you have the checkbook. Isn't that exciting? All right, so that's something you typically can't do with a self-directed IRA. The only way you can pull it off is if you set up an LLC and you have all the stuff that goes along with that. Next wonderful benefit of a solo 401k is that you can, in both cases, you can borrow money. It has to be non-recourse, but you can borrow money to help purchase a property. So you can get a non-recourse loan. The difference is with a solo 401k, there's a certain tax that you get hit with, or a penalty you get hit with self-directed IRAs that you don't with solo 401ks as it relates to borrowing money. Pretty cool. Now, I know it probably gets more complicated than that, but that's kind of the simple overview of that little bullet point of that feature. Usually you can contribute more money to a solo 401k per year than you can a self-directed IRA. One that I really like, if you make a mistake called a prohibited transaction, dun dun dun, you get one of those. With a solo 401k, you can fix it. You do that with a self-directed IRA, typically they liquidate the plan. It's trouble. So you don't have a second chance. But obviously a custodian tries to help avoid that sort of thing. But a solo 401k, you can fix what you've made mistakes on. And perhaps the biggest benefit, and there are a few more, and I also have a blog article about this, and it's just below this video. There's a link to it, so there's some more bullet points. But I want to cut to the chase here. Perhaps the most exciting part of a solo 401k. You can borrow up to $50,000 out of your plan, and you can use that money for whatever you want. Now, you have to pay yourself back inside of like 5 years, unless you're buying a personal residence, which you can do it for 10 years, but you have to pay yourself back with interest, but the interest is going to you, so you're paying yourself back. But that's really nice. There's a lot of times in life where it's kind of nice if you could borrow a quick $50,000. You know what I'm saying? So the solo 401k gives you that ability. That's something you cannot do with a self-directed IRA. And one thing that's important for both of these particular options is that you can't commingle funds. So you couldn't give the seller $3,000 earnest money out of your own bank account, your personal bank account, and then buy the property with the rest from your solo 401k. It has to all be consistent. But what's so nice about this is if you do need some money and you do need it for personal reasons, you can tap into that through creating your own loan through your individual 401k. Pretty cool stuff. So if any of this got a little bit too confusing, read my blog article. That also sheds some light on the details of this. And bottom line is this: if you're a real estate investor and you already are IRA real estate investing, you may want to strongly consider moving to one of these. Strongly consider it. This is a really, really, really good option. And if you've never done this before, I would argue that in most cases, you probably want to start with this. If you're going to be active in the business, if you're going to meet the little criteria that's required to get to one of these things, because the benefits greatly outweigh the drawbacks, because there's only, ultimately, we'll talk about the quick drawbacks here. There's a couple. Number one, you got to get it set up right. And I'll talk at the end of this video. I have a friend of mine who's forgotten more about the subject of this than most people will ever know. And if you want to contact me and you're serious about setting one up, I can do an introduction for you by email. The next thing is setting up the bank account can sometimes be a bit of a challenge because bank officers don't always know how to set up a bank account for a 401k. You know, sometimes these people are brand new to the bank. They've been there for a month. They don't know what to do. Another problem is sometimes when you're trying to close the transaction, the title company may not always know exactly how to put it together, and most importantly, their underwriters at their title insurer may not know exactly how to issue title insurance. And so sometimes you have to coach them a little bit. And so those are the three main drawbacks right there. And one thing that you've got to be real careful of is not using that money for personal. And why is that a drawback here? It's because it's so close to you. You have checkbook power. So if you have absolutely no willpower in your life, if the idea of you having a checkbook where you could just start stroking checks out of your individual 401k account, if that was scary to you, then you may want to just put the middleman in here. He's going to charge you a lot more money, and you're not going to have as much control, but at least you won't blow all your retirement. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Well, if you do want to set one of these up, there's very few people out there that really know how to set it up right. It's relatively new. It's set up in 2001 is when the law came into be, where we could actually do one of these things. So the gentleman that I work with, I can introduce you to him. But what you would do is you would just send me an email. I'm at phil@freedommentor.com. phil@freedommentor.com, and I'll make an email introduction for you with this gentleman. Look, he's not a big company and that sort of thing, so you've got to be serious because he doesn't have time for looky-loos. He's got to have people that are serious. So if you want to learn more about this whole thing, I've got links in my little blog article to more and more detail about this concept, but it's an absolute slam dunk home run for real estate investors over the self-directed IRA. And I have good friends that are custodians for self-directed IRAs, and they probably wouldn't like that I put this video out, but it's this is the signal right here. This is what it's all about. So, all right, well, I'm Phil Pustiovsky with freedommentor.com. If you want to learn more about what we're doing, go check out our website. We're training and coaching people to success. We're sharing the profits with them, and we're closing a lot of deals right now. It's a great time to be a real estate investor. So again, I'm Phil Pustiovsky, Freedom Mentor. Thanks for watching.